Commander Jack Miller stared at the Federation official with disbelief. The blue-skinned Rentarian's 4 eyes blinked in unison, an indication of their complete seriousness. "One attempt only?" Jack repeated. "That's the rule?" "Indeed, Commander," the Rentarian confirmed, their translator device producing perfect English. "The Federation has analyzed your species' psychological patterns extensively. Humans become dangerously innovative when allowed multiple attempts at our qualification trials." Jack crossed his arms. The Galactic Federation had finally accepted Earth into its ranks 3 years ago, after humanity proved they'd moved beyond their warlike tendencies. But integration hadn't been smooth. Every human trait seemed to both fascinate and terrify the other 12 species. "Senior Ambassador Trell requested I explain the reasoning," the official continued. "After the incident with pilot Ross Gibson," Jack winced. Gibson had failed the Centauri ring trial 6 times, before succeeding on his 7th attempt with an impossible maneuver that now bore his name. The maneuver was so efficient it rendered obsolete 3 centuries of established Federation navigation protocols. The Council has determined that humans possess a unique psychological characteristic. When faced with failure, rather than accepting established limitations, you adapt in unpredictable ways. "We call it learning from our mistakes," Jack said. "That's precisely the issue. Your species doesn't see a failed attempt as proof of impossibility, but rather as a challenge to overcome through increasingly unconventional methods." Jack couldn't help but smile. "And that's a problem?" "It's destabilizing." After Lieutenant Meera Patel's 3rd attempt at the tactical response simulation resulted in her discovering a firing sequence that bypassed 5 safety protocols. Protocols designed over millennia, the High Command realized allowing humans multiple attempts creates security concerns. Jack remembered that incident well. Meera had been celebrated among the human contingent, but had nearly caused an interspecies incident when 3 Federation counselors suggested she be psychologically evaluated for dangerous thinking patterns. So every other Federation species gets unlimited qualification attempts, but humans get one. This isn't exactly equal treatment. The Rentarian shifted uncomfortably. "Commander, I must be frank. The Federation feared accepting humanity for precisely this reason. Your species accomplishes in decades what took others centuries. You don't respect established boundaries." "We push boundaries," Jack corrected. "There's a difference. The distinction is minimal to Council perspectives. The one-attempt rule was the compromise that allowed human pilots into Federation fleets at all. The alternative was restricting humans to diplomatic and support roles only." Jack glanced through the viewport at the massive Federation headquarters station orbiting Jupiter. His pilots were the best Earth had to offer, but now they'd have one shot at certification or their careers would be over. "The first qualification trials begin tomorrow," the Rentarian said. "I recommend informing your pilots immediately." After the official left, Jack called his 12 pilot candidates to the briefing room. Their expressions mirrored his own initial reaction: disbelief, then anger, then determined resolve. "They're afraid of us," said Lieutenant Tom Reed, his voice quiet. "They've seen what we can do." "They should be," Lieutenant Kate Wilson added. "One attempt? Fine. We'll just have to get it right the first time." Jack studied his team. Unlike most Federation species who trained pilots for decades before attempting qualification, humans compressed advanced training into months of intensive simulation. The Federation found this approach reckless. "The rule applies to all of you," Jack said finally. "One attempt at each qualification trial. No second chances." The room fell silent until Kate spoke again, her eyes gleaming with the particular brand of defiance that had become humanity's unofficial contribution to galactic culture. "Then, we'll just have to show them why they needed that rule in the first place." Admiral Vrock of the Tellurian Defense Force watched the human pilots with all 3 of his eye stalks fully extended, the Tellurian equivalent of intense concentration. Beside him, Commander Jack waited silently as Lieutenant Tom Reed approached, the hyperspace navigation simulator. "Your understanding of the parameters, Lieutenant?" Vrock asked. "Navigate through the Cassini division without deviating from the prescribed safety corridor," Tom recited. "Maximum time, 40 minutes. What Tom didn't mention was that the safety corridor had been designed for the reflexes of the methane-breathing Drovians, whose neural processing speed was 3 times that of humans. Jack had protested this standardization, but the Federation maintained that all pilots must meet identical requirements. "You may begin," Vrock stated, his translator rendering his chittering sounds into flat English. Tom entered the simulator pod. The exterior screens activated, showing the observers what the pilot saw. A perfect replica of Saturn's rings from the perspective of an approaching ship. Immediately, Jack noticed Tom wasn't following the standard approach vector. Instead of the gradual deceleration pattern taught in Federation manuals, he maintained velocity much longer before executing a sharper deceleration curve. Admiral Vrock's eye stalks quivered, a sign of distress. "This approach is not regulation." "But it's not prohibited," Jack countered. "The parameters specify reaching the destination within the safety corridor. They don't dictate the exact approach method." Tom's ship neared the rings, traveling much faster than Federation protocols recommended. Just when collision seemed imminent, he executed a complex roll and dive maneuver, conserving momentum while threading between two massive ice chunks. Vrock's assistant began chattering rapidly into a communication device. "What's the problem?" Jack asked. "The human is using combat evasion techniques in a navigation trial," Vrock replied, clearly troubled. Jack smiled slightly. "We call it efficiency." Inside the simulator, Tom continued his unorthodox approach. Rather than treating the debris field as an obstacle course to be carefully navigated, he seemed to be using the gravitational microgradients between ice particles to slingshot his craft forward, touching the edges of the safety corridor but never breaching them. At 26 minutes, 14 minutes under the time limit, Tom's simulated craft emerged from the Cassini division. "Trial complete," the simulator's automated voice announced. Admiral Vrock's eye stalks went completely rigid, the Tellurian expression of shock. "This is unprecedented." "Did he pass?" Jack asked, though he already knew the answer. "Technically, yes," Vrock admitted reluctantly. The ship remained within the safety corridor parameters. As Tom emerged from the simulator, Jack saw the other human pilots grinning. They had been studying each other's strengths for months, developing techniques that complemented their individual talents. Federation species typically specialized pilots for specific tasks, but humans cross-trained obsessively. "Next candidate," Vrock announced, his voice noticeably less enthusiastic. Lieutenant Kate Wilson approached the simulator for the gravitational escape velocity test, a challenge where pilots navigated out of a gas giant's gravity well with minimal fuel consumption. "Standard completion time for this trial is 32 minutes, Vrock informed her. Kate nodded respectfully. "Understood, Admiral." But as she entered the pod, Jack caught her confident wink. He knew what was coming. Kate's trial began, and immediately, she did the unthinkable. She flew deeper into the gas giant's atmosphere, rather than beginning the escape sequence. Admiral Vrock's assistant began frantically checking the simulator's programming, assuming a malfunction. "Your pilot is descending," Vrock stated with alarm. Jack nodded calmly. "She knows what she's doing." And indeed she did. Kate was using the denser atmosphere to execute a slingshot maneuver that no Federation manual would recommend. Too risky, too many variables. But humans had been using gravity assists since their earliest space programs. Kate's maneuver, while appearing reckless, was calculated to extract maximum acceleration with minimal fuel expenditure. She completed the trial in 17 minutes, using 43% less fuel than the Federation standard. As the day continued, each human pilot demonstrated similar irregularities in their approach. Not all were as dramatic as Tom's or Kate's methods, but each showed the distinctive human touch, the willingness to bend procedures to the breaking point without technically violating them. By day's end, all 12 human pilots had passed their first qualification trials, and Admiral Vrock looked thoroughly disturbed. "Your species," he said quietly to Jack, "approaches problems differently." "We do," Jack agreed, "and we're just getting started." The Federation Council chamber hummed with tension as Jack entered. Representatives from all 13 member species occupied their designated sections, but the human section, still the smallest with only 3 seats, had become the focus of the entire assembly. High Counselor Dren, the ancient Proximan whose species had founded the Federation 2 millennia ago, gestured Jack forward with one of his 6 limbs. "Commander Miller," he intoned, his translator giving his voice a deep, resonant quality. We have received concerning reports about your pilots' performances. Jack stood at parade rest. All of my pilots passed their qualification trials, within the parameters established by Federation standards. Technically correct, admitted Counselor Talvi of the silicon-based Moravian Collective. Her crystalline form refracted light in patterns that indicated agitation. Yet they have violated the spirit of our procedures. They discovered shortcuts. Innovations, Jack corrected politely. My pilots were given one attempt, as required. They made those attempts count. The council chamber filled with the overlapping sounds of multiple species communicating simultaneously, the Federation equivalent of murmuring disapproval. The one-attempt rule was implemented to prevent exactly this outcome, said Admiral Vrock, who had been invited to address the council. Yet somehow, despite our precaution, human pilots have managed to destabilize centuries of established protocol within days. Jack remained silent, knowing any defense would only sound like confirmation of their fears. High Counselor Dren raised his primary limbs for silence. What troubles the Council most, Commander, is not merely your pilots' unorthodox methods, but their apparent coordination. Each human pilot approached their trial with techniques specifically suited to their particular strengths, as if they had prepared extensively, Jack finished for him. Of course they did. We knew we would get only one chance, but your preparation involved studying our systems for vulnerabilities, accused Counselor Elek of the aquatic Nereid sovereignty, his gill membranes flushing deep purple with indignation. We studied your systems for opportunities, Jack countered. There's a difference. The distinction didn't appear to reassure the council members. Jack realized he needed to change his approach. These weren't military commanders he was addressing, but politicians and bureaucrats who valued stability above all else. Honored counselors, he began again. Humanity's history with space exploration began with extremely limited resources. We couldn't afford multiple attempts at most missions. When we sent probes to Mars or Voyagers beyond our solar system, we had one shot to get it right. This caught their attention. Most Federation species had evolved in systems with abundant resources and had developed space travel gradually over many generations. Humans don't look for shortcuts because we're trying to break your systems, Jack continued. We look for efficiencies because for most of our history, we had no other choice. Our pilots prepare extensively because failure has always been too costly for us. High Counselor Dren studied Jack with eyes that had witnessed centuries of galactic politics. An interesting perspective, Commander. Yet it does not change the fact that your pilots have demonstrated capabilities that disturb many member species. The next qualification trials are scheduled for tomorrow, Admiral Vrock interjected. The tactical response assessment. I strongly suggest postponing these trials until the Council can establish new parameters specifically for human participants. Jack tensed. With respect, Admiral, that would violate the Federation's own non-discrimination protocols. Humanity was accepted as an equal member species. Equal, yes, Counselor Talvi replied, her crystalline form pulsing with light. But not identical. Species-specific accommodations are sometimes necessary. The one-attempt rule already is a human-specific accommodation, Jack pointed out. Adding further restrictions would constitute clear discrimination. The council chamber fell silent as the representatives processed this legal challenge. Federation law was clear on the matter of species equality, having been established after several unfortunate historical incidents of biological discrimination. Finally, High Counselor Dren spoke. The tactical response assessment will proceed as scheduled. However, the Council will observe these trials directly. Should your pilots continue to demonstrate concerning capabilities, further action may be necessary. As Jack left the chamber, he received a communication from Lieutenant Kate Wilson. The council meeting didn't go well? About as expected, Jack replied. Tomorrow's trials will be under intense scrutiny. Good, came Kate's immediate response. We want them watching closely for this one. Jack smiled despite himself. The Federation had no idea what they were about to witness. The tactical response assessment chamber was massive. A spherical room 100 meters in diameter, its walls embedded with holographic projectors capable of simulating any combat scenario imaginable. In the center observation platform, members of the Federation Council gathered alongside military officials from various species. Every eye, sensor, or sensory appendage was focused on the human pilots. Lieutenant Alec Johnson was the first human scheduled for the assessment. A former fighter pilot before Earth joined the Federation, he had the fastest reaction time among Jack's team. High Commander Peltz of the Arcturian Defense Force approached Jack, his tentacular mouthparts twitching nervously. "Commander Miller, I must inform you that today's tactical scenarios have been adjusted." Jack frowned. Adjusted how? The Council authorized a higher difficulty level than standard for qualification trials, Peltz admitted. Given your pilot's performance on previous assessments, it was deemed appropriate to advance directly to elite-tier scenarios. Jack struggled to maintain his composure. Elite-tier scenarios were typically reserved for pilots with at least 5 years of Federation service. They were designed to test veterans, not candidates. "That's a direct violation of qualification protocols," Jack said quietly. "The protocols allow for difficulty adjustment based on demonstrated capability," Peltz countered. "Your pilots have demonstrated exceptional capability." Before Jack could protest further, Lieutenant Johnson entered the simulation chamber. The observation screens activated, showing the pilot's perspective. Instead of the standard training scenario, defending a stationary installation against waves of attackers, Johnson found himself in the middle of a complex space battle with shifting allegiances and multiple faction engagements. It was a scenario designed to overwhelm a pilot's decision-making ability through sheer complexity. "This is an Omega-level diplomatic conflict simulation," gasped one of the Moravian representatives. "That's beyond elite tier!" Jack shot a furious glance at Commander Peltz, who avoided eye contact. They hadn't just increased the difficulty. They'd selected a scenario specifically designed to exploit presumed human weaknesses in multi-faction diplomatic consideration. Inside the simulator, Johnson took a moment to assess the chaos unfolding around him. His tactical display showed at least 5 different factions engaged in combat, with constantly updating diplomatic status indicators. Standard Federation protocol for such scenarios involved maintaining distance and minimal engagement until diplomatic clarity could be established. But Johnson immediately took a different approach. He accelerated directly toward the center of the conflict, where the heaviest fighting was concentrated. "What is he doing?" demanded Counselor Talvey. Jack watched with growing pride as Johnson's strategy became clear. Rather than trying to process all the diplomatic complexities at once, he was creating a localized peace through superior positioning. By placing his craft at key tactical points and demonstrating overwhelming defensive capability without firing upon any faction, he was forcing de-escalation in his immediate vicinity. It was a technique developed on Earth during the Pan-Asian conflicts of the 2040s, establishing micro-peace zones within larger conflict areas. "He's not following any recognized Federation tactical doctrine," Commander Peltz observed. "No," Jack agreed. "He's following human doctrine." Johnson completed the scenario in record time, achieving de-escalation across 78% of the simulated region, significantly higher than the 50% threshold required for passing. As the simulation ended, Jack could see the council members exchanging troubled glances. They had tried to set an impossible challenge, only to have their expectations defied once again. The next 3 human pilots performed similarly impressive feats, each approaching their uniquely difficult scenarios with unconventional, but effective, strategies. By midday, it was clear that the increased difficulty had failed to achieve its purpose. During a brief recess, High Counselor Dren approached Jack. The ancient Proximan's expression was unreadable to human eyes, but his body language suggested deep concern. "Your pilots continue to surprise us, Commander," he said. "The Council is divided on how to interpret these results." "They're simply doing their jobs," Jack replied. "To the best of their ability." "That is precisely what concerns us," Dren admitted. "The best of human ability appears to operate outside our established understanding of cognitive processes. Some council members have suggested your species possesses some form of collective intelligence we cannot detect." Jack laughed before he could stop himself. "I assure you, Counselor, humans are decidedly individual in their thinking. If anything, our history has been defined by our disagreements with each other." "Then how do you explain these consistently?" "Innovative approaches?" Jack considered his answer carefully. Humans have always existed at the edge of disaster, Counselor. Our planet is tectonically unstable. Our climate has been in flux. We've fought devastating wars. Those who survived were those who could adapt quickly and think beyond established patterns. It's not collective intelligence, it's evolutionary pressure. Dren studied Jack for a long moment. A concerning explanation, Commander. It suggests these tendencies cannot be discouraged through policy. They cannot, Jack confirmed, but they can be directed. Humanity's adaptability serves the Federation's interests if you allow it to. As the recess ended and the trials resumed, Jack noticed a subtle shift in the Council's attention. They were no longer watching merely to confirm their fears about human unpredictability. Now they were studying, analyzing, perhaps even learning. By day's end, all 12 human pilots had passed their tactical assessments despite the artificially inflated difficulty. The Council members departed in silence, their earlier protests replaced by thoughtful consideration. Lieutenant Kate Wilson approached Jack as the chamber emptied. "They tried to sabotage us," she observed. "Yes," Jack replied, "and tomorrow they'll try something else." Kate's expression hardened with determination. "We'll be ready." The summons came at 0300 hours, rousing Jack from a restless sleep. Federation security officers, a mixed species unit, escorted him not to the Council chamber, but to a secure facility deep within the station's core. The silence during the journey was ominous. They arrived at a massive vault door bearing the symbol of the Federation Archives, a repository of knowledge typically off-limits to all but the highest-ranking officials. Jack's confusion grew as the security escorts verified their credentials, and the vault door slowly swung open. Inside, the full Federation Council waited in a semicircle around a holographic projection system. High Counselor Dren gestured Jack forward. "Commander Miller, the Council has reached a decision regarding your pilots," Dren announced without preamble. "But before we reveal it, we must show you something." The holographic system activated, displaying an ancient spacecraft of unfamiliar design. Its hull bore evidence of weapons damage and emergency repairs. "The Harbinger," explained Counselor Talvi. "A vessel from the Third Expansion era, approximately 30,000 of your Earth years ago." Jack studied the ship with professional interest. Despite its age, certain design elements suggested advanced thinking about propulsion and maneuverability. "This vessel," continued Dren, "belongs to a species known as the predecessors. They were not the founders of the Federation, but they were among the most innovative spacefaring civilizations in recorded history." The hologram shifted to show biological data, DNA strands and cellular structures unfamiliar to Jack. The predecessors possessed certain neurological traits that the Federation's biological archives have categorized as unique, Dren explained. "Until now." With a gesture, the counselor brought up a new holographic display. Human neural pathway scans alongside the ancient species brain structure. "Your species exhibits a 89% neurological pattern match with the predecessors," Counselor Talvi stated. "The highest correspondence with any known species in 30,000 years. Jack stared at the displays, trying to process the implications. What happened to them? The predecessors? A heavy silence fell over the council members before Dren responded. They destroyed themselves. Their innovation outpaced their wisdom. Their last transmission, preserved in our archives, warned against the dangers of their own nature. The hologram changed again, showing the aftermath of what appeared to be a catastrophic interplanetary war. Shattered worlds and debris fields, where civilizations had once existed. "Now perhaps you understand our caution regarding humanity," Dren said softly. "It is not merely bureaucratic resistance to change. It is informed by historical precedent." Jack felt a chill run through him. "You believe we're destined to repeat their mistakes." "The possibility concerns us deeply," admitted Talvi. "Yet we cannot ignore another historical lesson. Suppression of species-typical traits typically leads to rebellion and conflict." Dren raised his primary limbs in a gesture of emphasis. "Which brings us to our decision. The remaining qualification trials for human pilots have been cancelled." Jack tensed, preparing to protest, but Dren continued before he could speak. "Instead, we are creating a new division within the Federation fleet, Tactical Innovation Command. All 12 of your pilots will be commissioned directly into this division, under your leadership, Commander Miller." Jack's protest died on his lips. I don't understand. The Federation has survived for millennia by adapting, explained Counselor Alec, his gill membranes pulsing gently. We recognize in humanity both great potential and great risk. Like the predecessors, you think differently. Unlike the predecessors, you will not be left to develop these tendencies in isolation. Dren's ancient eyes fixed on Jack. Your pilots will work directly with Federation Strategic Command, applying your unique perspectives to our most challenging problems. In exchange, you will be integrated into our ethical and philosophical traditions. You want to channel our innovation, Jack realized, while teaching us restraint. Precisely, confirmed Talvi. The one-attempt rule remains in effect, not as a restriction, but as a reminder of the care with which power must be wielded. As the implications sank in, Jack recognized both the honor and the burden being placed on his team. The Federation wasn't just accepting human pilots. They were acknowledging humanity's potential contribution to galactic civilization while taking steps to prevent history from repeating itself. There is one condition, Dren added. Each human pilot must be paired with a mentor from another Federation species, someone to provide perspective when your innovative tendencies might lead to dangerous territory. Jack considered this requirement. It wasn't unreasonable, and might even prove beneficial in helping humans integrate into the larger galactic community. We accept your terms, he said finally. As he left the archive vault, Jack couldn't help but wonder what other secrets about humanity's potential the Federation might be keeping from them, and what challenges lay ahead that would require the particular brand of innovation that humans brought to the stars. 6 months later, the Tactical Innovation Command occupied an entire section of the Federation's principal fleet base in the Arcturus system. What had begun as an experimental program with 12 human pilots had expanded to include 34 humans and 22 innovation-compatible individuals from other species. Jack reviewed the latest simulation results on his console as Lieutenant Tom Reed entered his office, accompanied by his Tellurian mentor, Senior Pilot Kraz. The odd pair had developed an effective working relationship despite their physiological differences. Tom's quick human reflexes complemented by Kraz's methodical Tellurian perspective. Commander, you need to see this, Tom said, his expression unusually serious. He transferred data to Jack's display. Long-range sensor readings from the Federation border near the Cygnus Void, a largely unexplored region of space beyond Federation territory. These energy signatures don't match any known configuration, Kraz explained, his eye stalks extended in concentration. They appeared 3 days ago and have been growing stronger. Jack studied the readings with growing concern. Has Strategic Command been informed? They classified it as a natural phenomenon, Tom replied. But Kraz and I ran the data through our new pattern recognition algorithms. The display shifted to show a troubling analysis. The energy readings weren't random, but contained embedded sequences that suggested intelligent design. We believe it's a propulsion signature, Kraz said. But unlike any Federation technology. Jack immediately recognized the implications. First contact. Potentially, Tom agreed. But Strategic Command isn't convinced. The patterns don't match any theoretical communication framework in their archives. Jack wasn't surprised. The Federation's approach to potential contact scenarios was rigidly protocol-driven. If something didn't match established parameters, it was typically classified as an anomaly pending further data. Have you shared this with the other TIC teams? Jack asked. Lieutenant Kate's group is already working on communication algorithms, Tom confirmed, and Alec's team is developing tactical simulations based on the limited data we have. This was exactly why the Tactical Innovation Command had been created, to approach problems from perspectives the traditional Federation hierarchy might miss. While the main fleet analyzed the situation according to established procedures, human innovation was already racing ahead to explore possibilities beyond the conventional framework. We need to take this directly to High Command, Jack decided. Within hours, Jack found himself in a secure briefing with Admiral Zentar, the gruff Danebian who oversaw Federation fleet operations. The Admiral's chitinous exoskeleton clicked softly as they reviewed the data. Interesting analysis, Commander, Zentar acknowledged. But inconclusive. These energy patterns remain within the parameters of several natural phenomena. With respect, Admiral, My team doesn't believe this is natural, Jack insisted. The mathematical precision suggests artificial origin. Based on human pattern recognition, Zentar countered. Which, while impressive, lacks the historical context of Federation analytical traditions. Jack recognized the familiar resistance. Despite the creation of the Tactical Innovation Command, many high-ranking Federation officials remained skeptical of human intuition. Admiral, I'm not asking for fleet mobilization, Jack said carefully. Just permission to take a small TIC vessel to investigate more closely. Zentar's compound eyes fixed on Jack. The Cygnus Void has been designated a potential hazard zone for precisely this reason, Commander. Unknown energy readings, spatial distortions, not an environment for experimental investigations, which makes it exactly the right environment for TIC, Jack countered. This is what we were created for, approaching the unknown from unconventional angles. The Admiral's mandibles worked silently for a moment, the Danubian equivalent of thoughtful consideration. Your mentors agree with this assessment? They helped develop it, Jack confirmed. This isn't just human impulsiveness, Admiral. It's collaborative innovation. This argument carried weight. The Federation had placed experienced mentors with each human precisely to temper their innovative tendencies with established wisdom. You may dispatch one vessel, Zentar decided finally. Minimally crewed. Observation only, Commander Miller. No engagement without direct authorization. As Jack left the briefing, he received an urgent communication from Kate Wilson. We've cracked it, Commander. It's definitely a propulsion signature, but it's operating on principles we've never seen before. Whatever's coming, it's moving fast. Jack quickened his pace. The Federation had created Tactical Innovation Command to handle exactly this type of situation, approaching the unknown with fresh perspectives. Now they would face their first real test. Within 12 hours, the TIC vessel Prometheus departed for the Cygnus Void. Its crew consisted of 4 human pilots, their non-human mentors, and Jack himself. As they accelerated to maximum safe velocity, Jack couldn't help but reflect on the irony. Humans, restricted by the one-attempt rule because they were too innovative, now dispatched precisely because conventional thinking had failed to recognize a potential first contact situation. Energy signatures intensifying, reported Lieutenant Alec from the sensor station. Whatever it is, we'll reach optimal scanning range in approximately 7 hours. Jack nodded. All departments, prepare first contact protocols, and run continuous pattern analysis on those energy signatures. I want to know what we're dealing with before we actually see it. As the Prometheus streaked toward the unknown, Jack felt a mixture of pride and apprehension. The Federation had feared humanity's innovative potential, tried to contain it with rules and restrictions, and now, perhaps, relied upon it as their first line of interaction with something truly new. They would have one attempt to get this right. Just like always. The Prometheus hung at the edge of the Cygnus Void, its sensors extended to maximum range. Before them, space itself seemed to warp and twist as the unknown energy signature intensified. Analysis? Jack asked, his voice calm despite the tension. On the bridge, Lieutenant Kate consulted her readouts, her Moravian mentor Silix hovering beside her. The crystalline alien surface pulsed with calculation patterns. It's definitely artificial, Kate confirmed. And massive, at least 3 times the size of the largest Federation vessels. The harmonics suggest a controlled fold in space-time, added Silix, her translator rendering her thoughts into crisp English. Similar to theoretical models, but more elegant than anything in Federation archives. Jack studied the visual feed, where space rippled like water. Time to emergence? Approximately 20 minutes, Tom reported from the navigation console. But there's something else, Commander. The pattern has regularized. As if it detected our presence and is responding, finished Kraz, his eye stalks extended toward the displays. A chill ran through the bridge crew. First contact. Scenarios typically assumed weeks or months of careful, distant observation before any direct interaction. Now they faced imminent contact with no time for the Federation's elaborate preparation protocols. Recommendations? Jack asked, looking around at the mixed crew of humans and their mentors. Lieutenant Alex spoke first. Federation protocol would have us maintain distance and attempt mathematical communication sequences only. His mentor, A Denibian tactical officer named Vrex clicked his mandibles in agreement. Standard procedure for unknown contact situations is minimum 3 days of observation before communication attempts. Jack nodded, considering. And what do you recommend, Lieutenant Alec? I think they're already communicating, sir, Alec replied, surprising everyone. The changes in their emergence pattern began precisely when our sensors started active scanning. They're responsive. I recommend we stop treating this as a one-way observation and acknowledge it as a dialogue that's already begun. Vrex's mandibles clicked rapidly, the Denibian expression of alarm. That contradicts 3,000 years of first contact procedures. Those procedures were developed for situations where both parties were unaware of each other, Alec pointed out. That's not the case here. Jack made his decision. Lieutenant Kate, prepare a direct communication packet. Use the same mathematical progression they're using in their emergence pattern as a foundation. Kate's fingers flew across her console. Adapting their pattern now, sir. This is highly irregular, protested Silix, her crystalline form flashing. With concern patterns. The Federation Council should be consulted before direct communication. By the time we receive Council instructions, they'll already be here, Jack replied. One attempt, remember? We need to establish communication before physical contact. The mentors exchanged glances but didn't further object. They had worked with humans long enough to recognize when innovative thinking might succeed, where traditional protocols would fail. Communication packet ready, Kate announced. Transmit, Jack ordered. The response was immediate and dramatic. The spatial distortion ahead of them stabilized into a perfect geometric pattern, a dodecahedron of shimmering energy that rotated slowly in space. They've acknowledged us, Tom whispered. The dodecahedron pulsed once, twice, then began transmitting complex data streams directly to the Prometheus's computers. They're sending star charts, Kate reported with astonishment, and what appears to be historical records. It's going to take weeks to process all this data. The mentors moved to their respective stations, their earlier resistance forgotten, in the face of this extraordinary development. Years of Federation training in cautious first contact procedures gave way to the excitement of actual contact unfolding before them. Sir, called Lieutenant Alec suddenly, I'm detecting a subspace transmission directed toward Federation headquarters, not from us. Jack's eyes widened. They're communicating directly with the Federation? Not exactly, Alec clarified. They're answering a signal that was sent thousands of years ago. According to these timestamps, it's a response to a message sent by the predecessors. A stunned silence fell over the bridge as the implications became clear. This wasn't first contact at all. It was a reunion. The mysterious vessel had responded to a call sent millennia before humans had even achieved spaceflight. The massive dodecahedron pulsed again, and a new data stream appeared on their main screen. Genetic sequences alongside cultural archives. As the information scrolled past, Jack recognized similarities to the predecessor data he had been shown in the Federation archives. They're returning, Kate breathed. The predecessor's descendants are coming home. Admiral Zentar's voice crackled over the communication system. Commander Miller, we're receiving unprecedented data bursts at Federation headquarters. Explain immediately. Jack took a deep breath. Admiral, we've made contact with what appears to be descendants of the predecessors. They've recognized our presence and are communicating openly. A long pause followed before Zentar replied, his tone uncharacteristically subdued. The Federation Council is convening an emergency session. Your orders are to maintain position and continue communication. As Jack acknowledged the orders, he noticed his crew, humans and mentors alike, working together seamlessly now, their different perspectives merging into a unified approach to this extraordinary situation. Commander, Kate called, excitement in her voice. They're requesting direct communication with humans specifically. They've identified our neural patterns as similar to their ancestors. Jack moved to the central communication station. Open a channel. The view screen filled, with an image that made everyone on the bridge catch their breath. The being before them appeared almost human, yet not. Subtle differences in proportion and coloration marked them as distinctly alien, yet hauntingly familiar. Greetings, cousins, the being said, its translator producing perfect federation. Standard. I am Navigator Tal, of the predecessor remnant. We have traveled a great distance to answer the call of our ancestors. Jack swallowed hard, acutely aware that he now represented not just humanity, but the entire Federation in this historic moment. I am Commander Jack Miller of the Federation vessel Prometheus. We welcome you. Navigator Tal's expression, a subtle shift in features that seemed both alien and readable, conveyed what might have been amusement. Your Federation has much to learn about. Welcome, Commander. We have been monitoring your transmissions. The one-attempt rule for human pilots? An interesting restriction. Jack felt a chill run through him. You've been monitoring us? For some time, Tal confirmed. We needed to understand how our relatives had integrated into the galactic community. The results were most illuminating. On the bridge, humans and mentors exchanged glances. The implications were enormous. A technologically advanced civilization related to the predecessors had been watching the Federation, studying humanity specifically. The ancient catastrophe, Jack ventured. The war that destroyed the predecessor civilization. Tal's expression darkened. A simplification. Our ancestors were divided. Those who embraced innovation without limits, and those who advocated for caution. The resulting conflict devastated our home systems. The survivors split into two groups, those who remained to rebuild under strict control of innovation, forming what you now call the Federation, and those who left to explore beyond known space, pursuing innovation freely. You're saying the Federation was founded by conservative predecessors? Lieutenant Kate asked incredulously. Indeed, Tal replied. While we, the travelers, continue to evolve and innovate, we have watched the Federation's development with interest, particularly its approach to species like yours, which share our neurological patterns. Admiral Zentar's voice cut in urgently through the communication system. Commander Miller, the Council is demanding immediate clarification. Are these beings claiming relation to the predecessors? Before Jack could respond, Tal spoke directly to the Admiral's transmission. We are the predecessors, Admiral, or rather, what they became, and we have returned because we detected something remarkable. A species that thinks as we do, yet has been incorporated into the very civilization that once feared our innovation. The bridge fell silent as the magnitude of this revelation sank in. Humans weren't merely similar to an ancient extinct species. They were neurological matches for the advanced civilization now hanging at the edge of Federation space. Tal's gaze returned to Jack. Your one-attempt rule intrigued us most of all. A clever adaptation, acknowledging the innovative potential while channeling it. Different from the suppression our ancestors experienced. It hasn't always been easy, Jack admitted, but we're finding our place. Indeed you are, Tal agreed. Which is why we have come. Not to disrupt, but to offer partnership. The Federation needs what humanity brings, the same qualities our ancestors possessed. And humanity needs what the Federation provides, stability, perspective, wisdom. Lieutenant Tom leaned forward. And what do you need from us? Tal's expression softened. Connection. Our journey has been long. We have discovered much. But evolution has taken us in different directions from our cousins who remained. We seek to share knowledge, to learn how our different paths have shaped us. Jack felt the weight of history in this moment. Humanity had stumbled onto a cosmic family reunion thousands of years in the making, and somehow they were both the newest members of the Federation and the genetic cousins of these advanced beings. The Federation Council will want to establish formal diplomatic relations, Jack said carefully. Of course, Tal agreed. But we wish to speak with humans first. Your unique position, innovative like us, yet integrated into the Federation structure, makes you natural intermediaries. Admiral Zentar's voice returned, now with a distinctly different tone. Commander Miller, the Council has unanimously upgraded your mission authorization. You are hereby appointed as official Federation representative to these returning predecessors. A full diplomatic delegation will join you within 48 hours. As the communication ended, Jack looked around at his crew, the human pilots, who had navigated Federation restrictions with their characteristic innovative approach, and their mentors who had learned to appreciate the value of human creativity. It seems, Jack said quietly, that the one-attempt rule has served its purpose. It didn't limit us. It prepared us for exactly this moment. Kate smiled. One attempt is all humans have ever needed. Kraz's eye stalk swiveled toward her, a perspective my species has come to appreciate, despite our initial reservations. As the Prometheus maintained position beside the massive predecessor vessel, Jack realized that humanity's greatest contribution to the Federation hadn't been their innovative approach to flying ships or navigating obstacles. It had been their ability to bridge worlds, to connect the cautious wisdom of the Federation with the bold innovation that had once split the galaxy. The Federation had worried that humans would follow the predecessor's path to self-destruction. Instead, they had become the key to reunification. The species that got it right on the first attempt. End.